Welcome to the second video in this planning module of the PDSA cycles. In this video, I will introduce you to the first two PDSA template and walk you through a worked example of the planning phase of a real PDSA cycle conducted in the first two network. Both an empty version of this template and this completed example version of the template are available for download from the first two website, so you can look at this in more detail on your own outside of the video. The first two PDSA template, while it may look rather lengthy, contains a series of scaffolds, definitions, prompts, and guiding questions to support people new to improvement work in successfully completing a PDSA cycle. For those of you who are not so new to this work and have completed PDSA cycles before, you may not find the PDSA template necessary to complete, though hopefully the template will support you with its guiding questions. The format of the PDSA template contains a left column, which you will complete on your own as you work through this. The blue section will be blank in the empty template, and you will complete that for each of the different rows. The right side of the template contains instructions for each step of, in this case, the planning cycle. It also contains guiding questions, as you can see on the bottom, and in other rows contains a running example to further help illustrate the key elements of the planning process. In green, you can see how the first two PDSA template aligns with the first two online NILS system, which stands for Networked Improvement Learning and Support. NILS is what first two uses to publicly, within the first two network, record and share PDSA cycles. As you can see here, I have already filled out this template with the running example that we will be using throughout all of the PDSA modules. The running example, as documented in row 1, is first two students will provide weekly anonymous journaled feedback to chemistry and mathematics course instructors / directors as formative assessment, i.e., be the student voice for the class. At the same time, students will think about their own learning in class, i.e., a metacognition strategy, and focus their learning for the upcoming week. This is a brief description, 2 sentences, that provides information on what the general change idea is going to be. The next step of the process is to choose a short title for your PDSA. This is going to go into the NILS system, and as you can see from the worked example, embedded student feedback, it's just a few words. All of the improvement work is aligned to the driver diagram, which is an overall master plan for how what we are doing in the PDSA cycles will ultimately support our aim statement. In NILS, the system will automatically copy over elements of the driver diagram for you. I've listed them here for clarity. You can see the primary driver is engagement with undergraduate institutions. The secondary driver is STEM course policies and practices. In this case, we're focusing on practices. And the specific change idea is metacognition. These elements may not be familiar to you at first. I encourage you to talk with the people in your first two working group to help understand which drivers and change ideas you are focusing on. You can also see on the right side of the template an example in a more narrative form of what the goal is. Choose the format that works best for you as you complete the template. The next section of the template has you document learning questions for your test. Remember, PDSA cycles are a form of disciplined inquiry, Inquiry requires asking questions. We're going to, in this row, document our questions for, for the embedded student feedback change idea. I want to notice two important things about these questions. First, there are both process and outcome questions. Recall from the overview video of the planning phase, we should think about process measures and outcome measures. Question number 1 is a process measure. Will we even be able to recruit students successfully? And number 2 is an engagement process measure. Will students engage with the change idea? Question 3 is an outcome measure. Was the change idea successful in improving student study habits? And question 4 is another outcome measure. Are the faculty receptive and appreciative of the anonymous weekly reports? The second thing I would like to notice about these learning questions is that they encompass both the immediacy of the change idea, which I believe is captured in questions 2 and 3, which really focus on the student behavior with the reporting and the embedded feedback, and the outcomes for the students. But the questions do not only include this content. Question number 1 is a very important initial question for the change idea that is just as essential as the change idea itself. And question number 4 is an outcome on the other side of the classroom, because regardless of whether or not the students are embedding their feedback into the course, the faculty uptake of that feedback is also a critical element. This next section of the template is where you will document your predictions. Each question above should have a prediction associated with it. For example, learning question number 1 inquired about student recruitment for this change idea. The prediction is yes, students will be interested, and we predict at least 5 students will apply for positions as embedded students in each course. You'll notice that the predictions here are numbered to make them easy to align with the questions listed above. The next 2 sections of the planning template describe logistics. The first section, as you can see here, describes logistics around implementing the change idea. In this worked example, I used a narrative approach to describe implementation. You can review this on the downloaded example in detail. I want to highlight one important point about the implementation logistics, which is this final section where there is a goal specified in implementation. Specifying a goal in implementation is entirely optional. Many teams find it helpful because it helps to clarify the intention and to provide a sense of scale, scope, or timing. In this example, the PDSA cycle had a goal of engaging 10 or more students in the change idea. This, coupled with the prediction that at least 5 students will be recruited per course, allows you to get a sense of scale such that we're intending to engage in at least 2 courses in this as well. For the logistics section around data collection, instead of providing a more narrative approach, you'll notice that this portion of the worked example has numbers which align to both the predictions and the learning questions. This may make it easier for you to ensure that each question and each prediction will be appropriately matched with portions of your data collection plan. Looking at one aspect of the data collection plan, element 1 on student recruitment, this specifies how the improvement lead is going to recruit students and how the prediction will be answered. Tying the prediction to your data collection plan can help you ensure that during the do and study phases of a PDSA cycle, you will have the appropriate data you need to engage in those activities. One important observation I want to make about this portion of the data collection plan is you'll note that in step 3, the reflection metacognition surveys, in this PDSA cycle, those were drafted prior to engaging in the planning phase. Accordingly, the links to those surveys could be easily embedded within this template. For number 4, on the faculty uptake, that survey has not yet been created. Accordingly, it is listed in the template as the survey link is forthcoming. It is completely acceptable for you to document in your plan that certain measures or data or other instruments need to be created before you can fully enter the do and study phases. The final row of this template is where you describe the required supplies, materials, and resources. In this case, documented, we have platforms such as Zoom and Qualtrics. We have attached PDFs, which we do not attach to this document, but in our next video, when we show you NILs, you'll see how you can attach PDFs and other documents to your PDSA cycles. We've seen how you can also link to surveys in this document itself, and we'll show you where you can do that in NILs. And lastly, because a portion of this change idea involves paying students for their time, we acknowledge that some of the required supplies, materials, and resources are the paperwork and funding approval to pay the students.